Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Sorry, Healing in Progress. I'm your host Ambika, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that shaped me into who I am today. I'm going to call this topic or this episode "Why I Had to Let Go to Grow." But first of all, let me apologize for the gap in between the videos, because I believe the first video I did was like almost 3 weeks ago. But life has been life, and we know how, everybody know how that is. I'm a single mom of 2 kids. They just started back to school. I'm back in school. I'm in school for nursing, and the journey has been hard, but I'm going to get through it. And so, but I'm here now, and I thank everybody for tuning in and for showing up. Not just for me, but for yourself too. So hit that subscribe button, right? What else? Notification button. Like and share. Okay, I did it. All right, so moving on. In my first video, I don't think I mentioned that I have mental health issues. I suffer from depression, anxiety, PTSD, and ADHD. And I do experience suicidal ideation. I don't think I pronounced that last word right, but y'all get it. I fumble my words sometimes, so please bear with me. But I think it's important to say these things out loud, because a lot of people suffer in silence. And I feel like people with mental health, we're fucking misunderstood. And I curse a lot, and I apologize, and I'm working on that too. But I've carried this pain for a long time, and a lot of this pain comes from my childhood trauma that dumped into my adulthood. And honestly, I believe that trauma starts in the womb, and I believe I was born into pain. And what happens when, a person is not taught how to process all that? You know what I mean? What happens is I carry it into my 20s, into my 30s. You understand what I'm saying? I'm 44, so I feel like over the last 5 years, 6 years, I've been rebuilding myself. And what caused this rebuild was the last relationship I was in, which was in 2019, which was with my son's dad. It was toxic, verbally and mentally. And I was doing everything. Sometimes in my mind, in the past, I thought, if I did this, if I did that, then I will receive love. You know what I mean? And going to therapy have taught me, because growing up in the home that I grew up in, I didn't hear I love you a lot. You know what I mean? It wasn't a lot of love yous and emotional stuff, going on. You know what I mean? So I had to learn the hard way. And so I was out in the street looking for fucking love. And so with my son's dad, I was doing everything. You know what I mean? I was cooking, cleaning, being loyal, doing how people be saying wifey duties, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's not being returned, or if it's not being reciprocated, then yeah, like you're gonna, you're gonna feel like shit, and you're not gonna feel good about yourself. And that's how I felt. But I met him on Plenty of Fish, and to be honest, it was red flags from the jump. It was one red flag from the jump, and I kind of got over that hurdle. And then a couple of months later, he moved in, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I invited the devil into my home. Because it was like he did a whole fucking 360. But again, it was like I said, it was one red flag that happened before we even decided we was going to even be together. And I should have paid attention to that red flag. And I knew it. And I know sometimes we aren't aware. I found out later on in life that I'm an empath. And I don't know if you guys know what that means, but I've been on a spiritual journey. I consider myself spiritual. I believe in God. I'm not a Christian. I don't go to church, and I don't read my Bible, but I believe in God. And, people like my son's dad, I believe he was a narcissist, and they feed on that empath energy. You know what I mean? And they can sense it. It's like they can sense it. You know what I mean? And so the signs was there. I got pregnant. Yes, I got pregnant. And because that's how in denial I was, in a desperation. You know what I mean? And I own that. You know what I'm saying? At some point, when we go through our relationships and we go through life, we have to take accountability for the part that we play in any situation. We can't always put everything on the other person. You know what I mean? And it took a lot. It took a lot for me to hold it together. And he was here. We was together for like a year and a half. And let me tell y'all something. I'm not a violent person, but I do have anger issues. You know, and it takes a lot for me to snap. You know what I mean? Especially if somebody disrespecting me and I'm showing you like, and I'm showing you love and you still, you know what I mean? And it was at that moment. I had like a real moment. I was like, "Ooh," I said, "He gotta go." I said, because if he don't leave, I was like, "God, I'm gonna kill him. I promise you, I'm gonna put him in the grave." You understand what I'm saying? I don't watch enough crime stories. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, and it, you know, in that moment, I was in a dark place because the abuse, like I said, the mental and the verbal abuse was just so much. It was just so much, and he had to go. And so I kicked him out. And before he left, he asked if he could take my son with him, and I told him hell to the fucking no. He came a few times after that, and after that, that was it. I never heard from him again. I got my son's name changed. I changed my number, and I didn't care, like, because I didn't want him in my life because he was just so toxic. I didn't want my son to be around that man. You know what I mean? And again, taking accountability. You know what I mean? Because, of course, you know, sometimes when somebody do us wrong, we wanna, you know what I mean? We wanna shout and, you know, scream and curse them out and all this other stuff. But what we don't remember is that we chose this person. We have to take accountability for the part that we played. I be seeing videos. I'm still talking about the topic, but I'm kind of going towards the accountability part. So I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to go back into the story. But that accountability part, right? Because it seems like nowadays I see a lot of videos online with women crying, bashing their baby father, you know what I'm saying, their ex-husband, or, you know, the man bashing the baby mother and stuff like that. And I get it. They hurt you. I get it, because I was hurt too. But again, you chose that person. And so I made a comment, and the women, they was getting in my ass, okay? They was telling me, shut the hell up. They was like, you know, but sometimes they change. They not like that at the beginning, and that's the thing. They not like that at the beginning, right? And sometimes that's true. Sometimes that is the case. But what happens after the first time they fuck up? You take them back, right? And then what happens to the second time? You take them back again. And then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth. And then you fucking keep going down the line until you get to your last point, and you like, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm gonna leave him. Let me go online now and make a video and cry and bash him. The fuck? Stop doing that. Stop. And again, I'm not judging. Like, I'm telling y'all, like, I got 2 baby daddies. After I had my son, I had my tubes removed, because it's not to be having 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, about 8 different fucking men. I already got 2. And I feel embarrassed enough. You know what I mean? Like, I already feel some type of way that I got 2 baby daddies. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not judging. It's just about, again, taking accountability. You know what I mean? If your baby father did you wrong, or your baby mother did you wrong, and you took them back after about the 100th time, you're going to have to eat that. Don't even talk. Eat it. Eat it. Take accountability. Build yourself up. Move forward and do better and make better decisions. Again, this is not me being judgmental. I know it might sound like it, because sometimes I just get passionate about things, and I see things online and it just upsets me. We can express ourselves, of course. But I don't hear none of these women talking about, I chose him, I know, you know what I'm saying, I played the part. Nothing. Everything is, oh, he ain't no good. Fuck him. Look at this nigga ain't got no job. You knew he ain't had no job when you met him. You know what I'm saying? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. And I was there, like, when he left, the first thing I did was I ran to the internet and put, like, a couple of videos out bashing him. I did because I didn't know no better. Because I wasn't in the place mentally to take accountability. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's all I want to say to that part. You know what I'm saying? We need to start taking accountability. That's all I'm saying. So back into the story. So he left, and I just and after he left, I was going through postpartum depression. And so when I tell you that I was skinny, I was skinny. I lost so much weight because I was so depressed. I was alone. My mom died also in 2019 in the same month. You know what I mean? And I was broken. I was alone, and I was lost. You know what I mean? Like, the people who I grew up around, like, this thing, how they be like, family is blood is thicker than water, and fuck all that. I said it and I meant it, and I'll say it again. We gotta stop that. It don't matter who you grew up with. We're at an age now to where I can call whoever I want my family member. We don't need to grow up together. We don't need to be blood members. I've learned that it's your family members that'll really stick that knife deep in your gut. You know what I mean? Stick it right in your gut. Some might stick it in your carotid artery and shit all up in the neck. You know what I mean? But anyway, and so I was alone. I was fucking alone. It was just me and my kids. I was alone. And so I just want to kind of, I'm not going to over-exaggerate, but I want to tell you how skinny I was looking, right? So you remember that old Stephen King movie, Thinner? The one with the gypsy. Remember when the lawyer, he was fat, right? He was in the car and getting some head and shit. You know what I'm saying? And then his wife, then he hit a gypsy woman, right? The gypsy man came up to him and kind of rubbed his finger across his face. It was like Thinner. When I tell you I was looking just like that man in that movie, baby, okay, it was that bad. It was that bad to where I've always been busty at the top. And when I was pregnant, my cup went up an extra size. So I had like this busty top, and like my bottom was looking kind of frail. You know what I mean? And I even had bought like some butt pads to kind of, you know what I'm saying? So my shape could be a little, I guess, together, whatever you want to call it. But that's how in the mental state that I was in. And I'm going to be honest with you, during that time, I was depressed, but I wasn't suicidal. Because you know why? Because it seemed like, I know they say sometimes when women go through postpartum depression, they, they don't, I've heard stories of women, they don't know how to love their kids, or they not attached, but I was like, it seemed like I loved my kids harder. You know what I mean? Because they were there. You know what I mean? And they were in my corner. You know what I mean? And so after that, I started to take therapy seriously. I've been in therapy since my early 20s, but it wasn't until that situation till I was like, you know what, I'm going to start going to therapy, taking the advice. Because for me, therapy was just about venting. But when that happened, I was just like, okay, I'm going to need some advice. I'm going to need help. And I was just researching a whole bunch of stuff. Like I consider myself a researcher because I'm always researching. I want to learn about everything. I've been learning about hoodoo and, you know what I mean? The Anunnaki, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Like, it's just so much stuff that during this time I was just reading about. And then I stumbled across something called shadow work. I don't know if anybody know what that is, but shadow work is like, it's hard. You know what I mean? It's not just about journaling. You know what I mean? It's about facing the ugliest parts of yourself and sitting with that pain, your shame, your triggers. You know what I'm saying? And all the stuff that you buried. When you do shadow work, you'll figure out why you are the way you are because of your childhood trauma. You'll figure out, like me doing shadow work, I figured out why I was an overgiver, why I was an overpleaser. You know what I'm saying? Why I was doing the dumb shit that I was doing. I figured it all out. You know what I mean? And it helped me so much. Like, it opened up a door. Like, and I was just like, oh, man. And when that happened, I started to cut people out of my life because I started to see things at a different point of view. See, when you in the dark and you in that trauma and you going through life and you don't know where the fuck you at and you lost, you're blind. Like, the blinders is on your eyes. You don't see shit. You understand what I'm saying? But once you start to heal and you start to work on yourself, those blinds come off. And that's what happened. My blinds came off. You know what I mean? And it was important for me to stop repeating the same cycle over and over again. And the thing I had mentioned earlier about with my mom, you know, we didn't have a good relationship growing up. We didn't. And, you know, like I said, I grew up in a household where there wasn't a lot about love. Like when I first had sex, I told my mother, we didn't have no conversation. She didn't have no conversation. All she did was take me to the clinic, got me birth control pills. She didn't talk to me about no type of, you know what I'm saying? Like the birds or the bees and or how a man's supposed to treat you. No guidance, no emotional safety, no nothing. Now as a mother of a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old, you know, I do things differently. Me and my daughter, we have a good relationship. I have deep conversations with my daughter. I don't hide anything from my daughter. I don't want my daughter to be blinded by so many things in life. It's a lot of things that I fucking didn't know. And growing up, I had to find out the fucking hard way. So now, you know, I'm in a better headspace now. I believe in God. Like I said, I believe in God. You know what I mean? And I believe God has had his hand over me and my baby's life, you know? I got my mother, my brother, my sister who passed on. They watching over me. You know what I mean? I've experienced so much things spiritually. You know what I mean? That it's been so great. Like it just feels good. Like every day it's just another day for me to keep growing, for me to keep working on myself. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful. Like I found out that I'm clairvoyant. I hear, you know what I'm saying, voices. Not, if you spiritual, then you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I just told you I'm a little mental, so shit, I might be hearing some other type of fucking voices. You feel me? Shit. But anyway, you know what I mean? I get visions. I get dreams. And I remember my dreams. I get lucid dreams. And now, for like the last couple of months, it's like now when I when I lay down and close my eyes, I can see through my eyelids. I can see through my eyelids, y'all. I see, like, if I'm laying in my room, I can see the room. I can see the door. I can see the light. I can see my closet. I can see the clothes on the bed. I don't even got to open my eyes, bitch. I can see in the motherfucking dark hole. Hello. Okay? And it feels good. It feels good. And I feel like we are here for a purpose. We're not here to be playing around and fucking lollygagging. I found out a couple of months ago, I'm here to be a healer and an emancipator. I know I pronounced that other word wrong. I apologize. I stumble over my words sometimes. But yes, that's what I'm here for. You understand what I'm saying? I'm here to make a difference. And that's why I'm going to nursing school. That's why I'm doing this content. You know what I mean? That's why I'm doing my book. You know what I mean? And everything else, because this is what God has been calling me to do. He's been showing me signs. You know what I'm saying? When he show up, baby, he be showing out, okay? And it feels good. It feels good. Now, do I still struggle? Of course. Remember, I'm still healing in progress. I'm still healing. You know what I'm saying? I have days where I just want to you know what I'm saying, jump out the fucking window and you know what I'm saying, and end it. You know what I'm saying? But I gotta look towards the future. You know what I'm saying? I got my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that there's something greater. You understand what I'm saying? So this is not about me. You understand what I'm saying? And so doing the work is what's important. You know what I mean? Doing the work is what's important. And when you do the work, you'll start to see and your eyes will start to open, because I mentioned before how my eyes was open. I started to cut people out of my life. Like, I had a really close best friend, and we was friends since high school, right? Now, she's been this way all this time, but it wasn't until I started to heal. She was just doing things, and I was looking at her sideways, and I was like, this don't feel right. Like, who is this person? You know what I mean? It wasn't about who was this person. This person been this person all this time. The thing about it is I was blind for so many years. And so when my eyes opened, I was able to see through people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I go off energy. Like, I could go in the room, I could read a room before anybody even opened their fucking mouth. I promise you. And that's something that I had in me all this time, but I didn't know it was in me. And I learned how to use it. So, I'm here. You know what I mean? And again, this journey is about all of us. This journey is about healing. This journey is about breaking those generational traumas that everybody be talking about, because it seems like nowadays everybody's talking about the fucking trauma, but back in the days nobody was talking about stuff like that. You know, growing up when I was in school, you know, I got my ass beat a lot. Why? Because I would act out in school. I was misbehaving. You know what I mean? And come to find out now, it was probably because it was the ADHD. But back in the days, you know, people didn't talk about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Mental illness, nobody was talking about shit like that. You know what I mean? And I believe that's probably what was going on, why I couldn't keep still, walking around and just doing all up crazy stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like now I'm in a better headspace. I know what I need to do. Is it still a struggle for me to do the right thing? Of course. Especially when you've been doing the wrong thing for so many years. You kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's like I'm reprogramming my fucking brain, like, to do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm always going to work on my mental health, always. You know what I mean? And like I said, growth is important. It's scary, but it's important. You understand what I'm saying? And so, yeah. And so I'm going to end this video. I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we gonna get through this. We gonna get through this together, you know, because here's the thing, you don't have to stay broken. You don't have to keep repeating the same cycles. You can change, you can grow, and you can fucking heal. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you know, go to therapy too. Like, a lot of people be against that. Stop fucking playing with your mental health and take your ass to therapy and stop playing. Stop playing in people's faces. You know what I'm saying? Get the fucking help you need, like, for real. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you for letting me share my story. If this resonated with you, again, please like, comment, and subscribe, or share this with somebody who you feel like needs to hear it. Until then, peace and love. This is Healing in Progress, and I'm Ambika.